Now, Africa's security environment is confronted by diverse challenges, from conventional resource and identity conflicts to growing threats from poaching, piracy, and terrorism. The need to innovate is becoming even more important than ever. With no war to wage, the innovations in defense technology must be able to tackle the new challenges of modern peacekeeping. Joining us now to discuss the defense industry in South Africa is Ivo Chikovitz, Executive Chairman of defense firm Paramount Group. Ivo, good evening and thank you for joining us.
Evening.
Reports suggest that there has been a significant dip in funding that has been directed at research and development in the defense and aerospace industry. Why are we seeing this decline, and most importantly, what are its effects?
Unfortunately, South Africa has been through a process of consolidating the South African Defence Force, and with that has come a significant decline in spending. Historically, South Africa spent billions of rand on research and development, and that's why we have such an exciting industry. Today, that budget is just not available, so it's been left up to private companies to spend that money themselves. In our organisation, we spend a significant amount of our annual profits on research and development, but unfortunately not many companies have that luxury or that privilege.
Who should be funding research and development in the industry?
Well, a little while ago at a convention in Europe, I was asked how many billions of dollars our government had given us to develop the products that we've had developed. And the truth is we've never seen 1 cent from government. Now, anywhere else in the world, government funds research and development, but against the needs of their defence force. When your defence force's needs reduce, the government's funding for research and development reduces.
Right.
So in my opinion, private companies and parastatals have to continue to innovate by using their own funds. And eventually government will come back into the fray and government will start funding new development.
But Ivo, why do you think that funding for research and development has fallen so far down in terms of the priority rankings for government at this particular time?
This is seriously unfortunate, because government has gone through a period of time where the defence industry has not been the most important industry. We've had so many other problems, so many other challenges, so many other industries that are of far more priority to government, that the defence and aerospace industry has not got the attention it deserves. This, I'm very pleased to tell you, is now changing. The defence and aerospace industry is part of the IPAP program. Right. Denel has been restructured. There's new management in Denel. There's a new vibrancy in the industry. I think we've turned the corner, and I think that the defence industry is going to start becoming a serious economic contributor. And as it becomes more and more important to government, and as it starts generating more foreign currency for the country, and as it generates more jobs, you'll see that government will start investing more and more in supporting the industry, and that's what we're looking for. That's what we're hoping for.
How is this renewed interest in the industry aligned to the fact that we are currently seeing relatively peaceful times on the continent? And I think at the core of my question, I'm trying to understand that where are your drivers of growth in peacetime?
The defence industry isn't just about war. The truth is that the defence industry has always been at the cutting edge of ultra high-tech innovation. And we have to continue to innovate in order to take into consideration the changing needs of a standing army. And you mentioned earlier that peacekeeping is becoming a major priority, and peacekeeping on the African continent is absolutely essential. We cannot develop economies without peace. We cannot develop economies unless governments can protect the assets of their people. And that's what we're innovating towards: appropriate technology that's affordable to the developing world, and technology that allows the developing world to build the institutions on which democracy and peace and stability is built.
So I would assume from this point, where we're looking at a landscape that is largely characterized by peace and stability and democracy, that the industry as a whole has had to undergo some degree of transformation to address new challenges or new threats that would characterize what we call modern peacekeeping. What are these threats, and how is the industry transformed to meet them?
Today, modern peacekeeping is about many, many different things. I've just returned from the Kruger National Park, where I was being briefed on some initiatives we're involved in to prevent rhino poaching. And today, the war against rhino poaching is a proper war. You know, people dismiss it. It's you know, war is a word we use very loosely. But today, it's a real war. You're dealing with poachers who are basically criminals, who are militarily trained, who have military equipment. It is imperative that the South African defence industry responds by equipping the rangers and the people that are responsible for stopping this poaching with the correct equipment. And we have that capability in South Africa. That's just one example.
Yeah.
There's a war against drugs. There's a major issue relating to piracy, not only in Africa and on our waters, but all over the world. So the nature of conflict has changed, but the conflict hasn't gone away completely. We just don't fight wars the way we used to.
Of course, and all of these new aspects of threats or security threats are happening against the backdrop of a rather uncertain economic climate. What are some of the strategies that some of the companies and maybe even the Paramount Group are taking on board to diversify their offering and to ensure that you stay afloat in these tough economic times?
Well, my experience has been that the defense industry is a recession-proof industry, because what happens is as governments start experiencing tough economic times in their countries, instability becomes inevitable, and as a result they have to start gearing to deal with that. You'll also find that in tough economic times, crime becomes more of an issue.
Yeah.
And crime today is cross-border crime. Crime today manifests itself in many, many ways, as I've explained. So the industry tends to grow in difficult times. And from what I see, the industry is starting to gear itself for exactly that. We're certainly very well poised for growth. We've had some of the best years ever. And we see ourselves growing significantly over the next 3 or 4 years. And I think that that's the trend in the industry.
Very early on, you touched on the global trend of consolidation, which I'm also understanding is also trickled down into the South African industry. What is the Paramount Group's strategy in this regard?
So I believe that the aerospace and defense industry worldwide is consolidated significantly. In South Africa, we're a small country with a small industry that is punching way above its weight globally. 90% of Paramount's business today is global business. Now, there are very few large players in the South African aerospace and defense industry, and I think that it's time that all of those players start selling themselves under one flag. We need to create a South Africa incorporated offering to the rest of the world. And on that basis, we really have the capability to take on the big boys in almost every single market. Denel has remarkable capabilities. Paramount has remarkable capabilities. The SMEs in the business, in the industry, have remarkable capabilities. Put that all together under one South African offering, and South Africa has the ability to become a very, very serious player globally.
The Paramount Group made an acquisition just a week or so ago, if I'm not incorrect, of ATE.
Right.
Is this in line with the consolidation strategy? And do you have any other acquisitions planned in the pipeline that we should be looking out for?
Absolutely. ATE is one of South Africa's oldest privately owned defense and aerospace businesses. The capabilities in that organization are unbelievable. It fell on hard times because of the rationalization in the defense force. We couldn't watch a company like that and a capability like that dissipate. So Paramount acquired it, not only so that we could poise ourselves to grow and that we could position ourselves into new areas of the industry, but also so that we could save that capability for South Africa. I'm a great believer in the fact that this is an asset of the African continent.
Right.
The entire capability is an asset of the African continent. And we as Africans have a responsibility not only to preserve it, but to grow it. And I think that the ATE acquisition has forced us into a situation where we now need to start a collaborative approach.
Yeah.
And Paramount is ready for that.
And what is your standpoint in terms of competing against big government manufacturers? How are you finding that environment?
So we're very lucky in South Africa. There's actually very little competition, because if you look at the capabilities of Paramount and the capabilities of Denel, Paramount's in the platform business. Denel is in the subsystems business. I can't sell my platforms as a system without what Denel has to offer.
So collaboration once again.
It's natural. It's going to. It's an absolute natural. There are very, very few areas of competition and conflict, and I think it's very important that companies don't go and duplicate research and development spend and land up competing against each other in the international market. We need a South African offering. We need to rationalize, to work share, to make sure that we preserve the jobs, to make sure that we're able to generate foreign currency collectively, not independently.
I have to ask about the perception that the industry holds as a whole, especially in light of the fact that we are looking at large transactions, many of them with the state, and a lot of perception that the industry is characterized by corruption and a lot of underhand deals. How accurate is this perception, and if it's true, has there been any tangible efforts to shift it?
So you know what, you've hit on probably the single biggest problem in the South African defence industry. We live with the legacy of the so-called arms deal.
Right.
And unfortunately, South Africans equate the defence industry with all of the baggage of the arms deal. You know, the defence industry worldwide is one of the biggest single industries. It's one of the biggest contributors to many, many economies around the world. In South Africa, it's unfortunately tainted with this brush. The defence industry is one of the most transparent industries in the world. It's one of the most highly regulated industries in the world. And I think that public perception has not treated the industry fairly. What has happened and what we have seen is, since these perceptions have become reality, or perceived to be reality, we've become more transparent, better regulated. And I think it's been a good thing for the industry. We now need to do a lot of work to change public perception.